Cool. Yes, we're recording. Awesome. Um, right, everybody, welcome back again to another episode of Meet the Music. Our series that started in lockdown that is now evolving into a regular piece of content for us all, which is awesome. And we're joined this week by a fabulous guest. This is Lucy. Hi, Lucy.
Hi everyone, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Woo. So Lucy's our next guest on Meet the Music, and Lucy has got some great experiences and places that she's worked in under her belt, and she's going to tell us all about it today with the questions that you submitted. So it's going to be a good one today, guys. So Lucy, we always start off our Meet the Music sessions by basically getting our guest to tell us about their journey into music. So that can be from when you were at school, it can be from a little bit later. You decide what you tell us about, but it's just a way for us to find out how you got into what you got into, because there's so many different ways to get into the music industry and working in the arts and stuff. So if you wouldn't mind, would you mind sharing that with us?
Absolutely, yeah. So I've always loved music. As a child, I was always like listening to stuff, making mixtapes because I'm old and tapes were what we did when I was younger. And yeah, I was really into like people like the Beastie Boys. I loved Queen growing up. Like I thought I wanted to be a performer. So I started playing the saxophone at school and joined my school band and sort of worked my way through that as I was going through my years at school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do as I got a bit older. I kind of realized that performing actually wasn't what I was interested in. I wanted to do something more like behind the scenes. So for a while, I was thinking about music journalism. And I ended up I applied to university, the University of Leeds, and got a place there on the Popular and World Music course. And I kind of thought, like, I'll just figure it out, like, what as I'm going. So yeah, I would love to say that I joined the student newspaper and I was really diligent in my music journalism quest, but I actually just kind of had a great time and yeah, didn't do any of that. So after graduating university, I was sort of thinking about what I would do, and I got a job actually working for a theatre company as an administrator, which was just kind of like doing like office-based stuff. And then from that, I was part of a really small team. There was only 3 of us in the company, so I ended up like taking on a lot more responsibility and doing a lot of like producing of the touring theatre shows that we used to do. So we toured to like schools, venues, and we went to Edinburgh Fringe Festival and did loads of different stuff. We had a recording studio in our building, so I really loved sort of managing that. And like we had like a company that were based there, and we also ran a lot of like education programs through the recording studio. And that was where like my passion for music really started, well, built a lot more through my work. So I was kind of thinking that actually this is something I do really want to work in. Like I love theatre, I love performance, but I think that music's kind of where I'm interested in, what I'm interested in. So after I worked at the touring theatre company, I had my sights set on London, because at the time I kind of thought like, oh, there's loads going on in London. It'd be really great to like try living there for a bit. So I applied for a job at the Roundhouse, which is a big venue in Camden. They've got like a huge like main space, which is about 3,000 capacity. They've got a smaller space, which is 250 capacity. And then they've also got, which is incredible, and not a lot of people know this, but they have under the main space, they've just got this like incredible like set of studios and kind of rehearsal rooms, like computer facilities and things for producers, bands, and all sorts of people to just come and use and hire. Like either you can hire them to kind of work on your own stuff, but they also run like fantastic projects, from everything from like how to be a radio host right through to like join a brass band or like all this other stuff. So it's really like really varied, really creative. So I got a job there working as the music and performing arts program coordinator. So I kind of ran a lot of those projects in the music and performing arts program. So a lot of spoken word and theatre performance as well as music, and working really closely with artists to kind of develop those projects. And in that first year I worked there, we took shows to Glastonbury Festival, Camp Festival, Latitude. We also did a lot of work on shows that happened in the main space. So a really brilliant thing about the Roundhouse is that they believe that all the work that they do all the music that they have coming through the venue all gives back to like the studios and the programs for young people. So we would often have like people like Jamie Cullum or someone, or I'm trying to think, Little Sims, we would like get them to do a masterclass and like work with the young people and sort of tie into the creative program, which was really brilliant. And then my role changed and I became the music program producer, which meant I managed the whole music program, and I produced a lot of the performances that happened at the Roundhouse. I worked on the resident artist program, which is an artist development offer for young musicians who were kind of they'd kind of gone through all the creative projects and they were starting to really like develop their own careers in music. So whether that's as part of a band or a solo artist. And so that program, the resident artist program, was about taking them to the next stage and giving them like more opportunities to perform and sort of develop their careers. So that was a really brilliant part of my job there. And then I also programmed a new music festival called Roundhouse Rising, which was like really, it was an annual festival and it was just so broad because it was multi-genre across loads of spaces at the Roundhouse. So there was like, it was really fun to kind of produce that festival and showcase like the best in new music for audiences at the Roundhouse. And then that leads me to my current role. I currently work for Brighter Sound, who are a music and talent development organisation based in Manchester. Brighter Sound are incredible. They've been going for about 20 years and they started off solely doing projects with young musicians and kind of giving young musicians a taste of their first taste of music and like putting on projects and events for young musicians. And their program's really grown. And now we work with young musicians and all of that like kind of first point of entry, but we also run a big artist development program as well for those kind of emerging semi-professional and sort of professional artists to develop their careers. So we run an artist development program. We do a lot of creative residencies, showcases and commissions for artists. And we have like really broad program of different stuff that we do. My particular area is the Both Sides Now program. So I manage that program across the north of England. And Both Sides Now is about supporting women in music, particularly in the north. So we deliver the program with a range of partners from like venues, record labels, music education hubs, schools, universities. Like there's just like a real range of different people involved. And our goal with the program is to support more women to get into music, to develop their careers and to kind of build what they're doing and be able to do that in the north. So that kind of that sort of that kind of historic sort of misconception that like if you want to make it in music you have to go to London, that isn't the case at all. And I think that Brighter Sound are just like one part of that sort of whole infrastructure in the north, kind of changing things for musicians in the north.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us. What a great range of experiences and roles that you've been in, and all the people that you mentioned that you've worked with, and the programming that you've done, different events and stuff. That sounds like you've done so much stuff. Amazing. So you've touched on a couple of things that people actually asked about here. I think a word that sometimes, I know myself, I get a bit confused with it, like a producer. Some people have asked, what is a creative producer? I wonder if you could maybe touch more on what that is and what that role consists of and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think because there's obviously like a music producer who like produces tracks and they'll like work with artists to like develop music, often electronic, like using like Ableton or Logic. That's what people know as a music producer. But like an event producer, it's a similar concept. It's someone that will work with an artist or a team and make something happen. So creative producer in this context is like live events and experiences for audiences. So I found like a definition online that I'll say, but I'll try and explain it a bit more as well. So a creative producer sits between the creative process and the operational process of a project, orchestrating ideas, resources, people and participants to turn the seed of an idea into a reality. So I think that's quite a nice description because it kind of encompasses all the things that a producer or a creative producer will do. So like in my role as a creative producer, like I've had to sort of like often fundraise for a project. So kind of have the idea or work with an artist or a team of people on an idea, and then I have to raise the money to make that idea a reality. Sort of like manage the budget, manage the teams of people. So people like, sound technicians and lighting designers. There might be a filmmaker involved. There might be a visual artist. The musicians involved if it's a live performance featuring music. And then also often in my role, like I'll be producing work in other people's venues. So a lot of what we do at Brighter Sound is we take work out all over the place. So we often work with like other festivals and event venues and places like that. So a big part of a producer's role is also sort of about like making sure that everything's done properly and that everyone knows what's going on. So you have to be a really good communicator and really clear, and kind of lead that project to success, basically. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a great description of that, because I think there are people out there that are really, really into music and love, watching live music and going to festivals, and have got an interesting kind of, as you said before, like the behind the scenes aspects of what makes an event. How does Glastonbury become to be Glastonbury? How does an event in London at the Roundhouse become? How is this even been set up?
Yeah.
And a role in that sense, being a producer and being behind the scenes and liaising with all these people and getting it all. What an exciting role to have, because you're seeing it all come about and all the different steps that you're taking to because you've got that goal in your head of the event's going to be great, and we've got to get past all these steps and make sure all of these things are sorted to get there, which I think sounds like a great role to have.
It's really exciting, especially when it actually happens and you can go, phew, it's happening, brilliant, the audience and everyone's having fun, great.
Yeah, amazing. Well, someone's gone on to ask, isn't it funny how like conversation just flows naturally? This has just gone right back to the next question. This person said, I read about your work at the Roundhouse in London. What is the best part about programming events?
That's a really good question. So aside from the finished result, when you kind of see it all happening and all your hard work's kind of come to fruition, I think that an aspect of producing and programming that I love is working with a big team of people. Like whether it's like, I've worked like my current role, actually I work with quite a small team of people, but regardless, teamwork is actually like a really big plus for me. Like I love kind of the ideas generation stage when you're all like sort of sat around talking about it. I love bouncing ideas around. That's like a really fun part of the job. And then like actually like having that sort of the overall vision of what you want the event or the program to be, and then kind of working with colleagues to make it a reality is just really fun, because you kind of go through the kind of like, oh right, this is what it's going to be. Okay, it's not going to be quite that, it has to be like this. Like, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of like stages of like sort of going back to the drawing board, and then it makes that end result even more rewarding when it actually does happen. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, and I guess the stuff that you said before about being in London and stuff, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's so much. It's so crazy even thinking about events now with lockdown and everything. But I think of all the events I used to go to, and I used to travel to go and see them, and they'd be so special and like catered. And I've been to a couple of I know like BBC Introducing do their like Introducing live show, where they have all the stuff, all the events and stuff that have been put on there. And sometimes you forget that somebody's sat and like put all that together and made this product for people to go and enjoy and experience. And sometimes you forget that there's people planning, as you say, going to it, coming back to it. That's not going to work, let's go back. This person maybe can't do it, you have to go back, and it's all of that. But if there's people out there watching this that are interested in the industry or working with artists or events or something like this could be the kind of role that you maybe want to look into, find out a bit more about, because it sounds like a job that's very rewarding in lots of ways. So the next question that we've got is around your Both Sides Now project, which sounds like an amazing project. And they've said, can you tell us more about the Both Sides Now project? And in your opinion, how important is it to support women in music?
Absolutely, yeah, I'd love to talk about Both Sides Now. So Both Sides Now is a programme that spans like loads of different areas. So I'll just talk a little bit about each area, each kind of strand of the program, and then and actually first I'll start by saying where it came from. So Brighter Sound run a lot of like residencies and events and projects for musicians, and about 6-7 years ago we're noticing a really disappointing trend that less than 1 in 4 of the applications that were coming in were from women, and even less were coming from women in the north. So these were like national call outs for things, and yeah, there was a really like low uptake from women. So Brighter Sound trialed doing like a women only residency to see what would happen, and that was led by an artist called Beth Orton, who's a really successful songwriter, singer-songwriter from, well, she was really like she's been working in music for about 20-25 years, but yeah, she's really brilliant artist. And so she led this residency, and we had 320 applications. Like, it was a massive like change. So Brighter Sound thought like, well, let's like see if we can develop this a bit more and like provide more opportunities for women. So that's how the both sides in our program kind of grew. And also, like, there's a lot of statistics out there about like so there's an organization called the PRS, the Performing Rights Society. So they collect income on behalf of songwriters and musicians whenever their music's played in public. So they've got a huge membership of music creators and songwriters, and their membership is made up of 17% of women. So that's a really, like, obviously very imbalanced. But then of that 17%, only 2% are women based in the north. So you can see the problem is like is not just Brighter Sound, it's across the whole industry. So again, like through both sides now, we wanted to kind of have an impact on those statistics and sort of help support more women to develop their careers in music. So the program's made up of like some different strands. So there's like artist development. So a lot of that is, as I mentioned, residencies and sort of projects, commissions, where we'll pay artists to create brand new music in response to a theme or a kind of idea or something. And then a lot of showcases and events. So we've worked with, well, we are working with Kendal Calling Festival this year. We've done things with Liverpool Sound City Festival. We've done Latitude and End of the Road Festival. So a lot of kind of like big festivals going out to wider audiences. And then there's also the young musician strand of the programme. So that's aimed at, obviously, I think it's like 11 to 25-year-olds, so kind of the younger end. And that's, again, residencies and sort of showcases and projects for girls to kind of develop their skills in music. And then we've also got a big education strand. So we've been developing a music education resource with an organisation called Charanga, which we're really excited about. That's going to go into, it's going to reach 1.75 million young people in classrooms across the country. So we're absolutely like chuffed about that. And that resource really is to support classroom teaching. So the teachers will be able to kind of draw on more female role models and women working in the industry and say like this. Sorry, my dog's just arrived. He's sleeping next to me now. Is that where you want to be? Sorry about that. So they'll be so the classroom teachers will be supported to kind of teach music with a variety of role models to kind of call on, because I think within the classroom that has to be highlighted more. There has to be female role models, because if there aren't those role models there, then younger generations won't see that they can be there one day. So and yeah, it's not just about artists on stage, but it's also about backstage and sort of behind the scenes roles as well, because I think historically, like technical roles like sound engineers and lighting designers, a lot of those roles are held by men, unfortunately. So yeah, I think we've also got training and apprenticeship programs strand as part of the program, which supports women and gender minorities to kind of to sort of get experience in those backstage roles as well. And there's an activism strand of the program. So we're just developing our manifesto, both sides of our manifesto, which is going to be launched this year, which is the result of about 300 voices from across the music sector. So that's education, the music industry, and and like the cultural sector, voices to kind of pledge what they're going to do and their organisations are going to do to kind of address gender equality in music and sort of make it a better landscape for women. So that's really exciting as well.
Wow.
I think, and just to go back to the question, I think it is so important to support underrepresented people in music, like whether that's women, gender minorities. So yeah, like artists with disabilities. I think it's absolutely crucial that more work is done to make sure that it is a more equal and representative industry, because it's so, I just feel like what a boring industry it would be if it was only one type of person or one type of experience making music or making art in general. I think it's just really important that there's a diversity of voices and opinions and experience, and that is, again, from the artists on stage to the people backstage making it happen. It has to be diverse and interesting.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Right on.
Right on, yeah. So I'm tentative to ask this question because I feel like you could say everything from what you've said. This question is, what has been the highlight of your career so far?
Wow.
Sounds like you've done so many amazing things.
Yeah, I think God, that is a really good question. I think I did an event. Do you know the rapper Little Sims?
Yes.
So she was a young person who started out at the Roundhouse. So she first did a spoken word project at the Roundhouse when she was like 13. It was actually before my time when I was there. But so I was aware of this amazing rapper that had come up through the program, and she then went on to obviously be a global superstar. And it was really brilliant. Like there was she came in to do an event at the Roundhouse, and my manager at the time and I managed to speak to her manager and just said, like, we'd love to do something with Sims and like put on some kind of show, like what do you think? And we ended up sort of devising this kind of experience with Little Sims and her team, which was I think it's her second album called Welcome to Wonderland. And basically it was Welcome to Wonderland the experience, and it was kind of an immersive event that took over the entire Roundhouse, like the main space, the smaller space, the kind of the bar areas, and we had like a visual art exhibition, we had like animation and sort of visuals going on in the main space, live music performances over multiple stages, and it was just absolutely massive. And she did the most amazing performance, like it was absolutely phenomenal. And she also had like guest artists come on with her, like Kano, Stormzy, Chip and Gets. So it was like a proper like fiesta. And I think what was really brilliant actually was that people who came to that were just like, oh, we're going to see Little Sims, and they had no idea it was going to be this like kind of immersive performance with all the guests as well. So I love stuff like that when people are really surprised by like what they experience. So yeah, that was really a really fun event to work on, because I think like all the different elements, like pulling all those together as a producer, like a visual art exhibition, and we had like a set designer like create like a sort of Alice in Wonderland style theme. So I had to pull on like my kind of theatre background, and I was a bit like, whoa, like yeah. So it was pretty that was pretty fun.
Wow. And it's interesting that you said there about how you could use things that you've done in the past to help you with that as well.
Absolutely.
How
Yeah.
experiences that you have, jobs that you have, you can take different things from them to
Yeah.
lend to these experiences, don't they? But that sounds incredible. When you were like an Alice in Wonderland thing, I was like, whoa, that sounds amazing. Because you've seen, is it Billie Eilish did like an immersive album thing, didn't you? I saw that on social media, and that was really cool. I wonder whether that's more, if that's the thing that artists are maybe starting to bring more into their, they want fans to have like a
Yeah.
part of this, this product, this life, this world they've created as part of their art. That's just so cool.
Yeah. It's really amazing, like as well, like new technology. Well, I'm probably saying new technologies, and they're really old technologies, but like all this like the kind of future of like live music and like tech and sort of AR and virtual reality and all that kind of stuff. It's like really exciting, and I think a lot of artists are like harnessing that to like take it to the next level. Like a live performance isn't just, and particularly after this year actually with like everything, well, a lot of people are having to experience music online. That kind of like where else can you take it is like really exciting, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, this question. What is the best part of your job?
Ooh, best part of the job. I like thinking about stuff like this. I love working with artists who are like kind of emerging artists who are sort of they've done the music for a few years. They're like kind of they're wanting to like progress onto the next stage in their kind of journey. And kind of I get a lot of job satisfaction from working with those artists and sort of helping them to kind of achieve their goals. So through our residency program, like it's great to kind of have that week of like real development and exploration with those artists and watch them kind of flourish. So they'll come on day one and they'll be like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm like, do you know what I mean? The confidence might not be as high. And then on Friday, on the final day, you get to see them like perform in front of a massive audience, and sort of like they've made some amazing connections with other like-minded artists through the week, and they leave kind of having this amazing network of collaborators and people that they then can work with in future. And I think that's something that I really get a lot of like job satisfaction from.
Yeah, amazing. We're coming to the end. This has been such an awesome conversation. I've learnt a lot from listening. I'm sure you all have as well that are listening at home. So the last question that I've got for you today, Lucy, is what piece of advice would you give to a young person wanting to start a career in the arts, to go and work in the arts? Have you got any advice that you'd give them?
Yeah, I think I would say like make things happen. Like if you're interested in live music and you want to like see like I don't know an artist in your local venue, I would just say like go and speak to the venue, like just have conversations with people and try and get things going yourself. Like I didn't mention it, but I started like my own festival when I was younger, because I was literally like I want to like have stuff happen in my local community. So I would say like yeah, just do it yourself, like start doing things that you want to see, because I think that's the way you get experience. And I mean, if you can do it with a group of friends or like people that you know, that's brilliant. Like start making that team of people that'll kind of get ideas off the ground. And I think that's something that's really good. And then once you're kind of at a stage where you're like, right, what am I thinking about for my job? Like you've got that really good experience to draw from, that you've put on a gig in your local community centre, or you've like worked with your school to put on an event for year 7 or something. I don't know, like there's like loads of kind of, I'd say just be creative and just like, yeah, have confidence to kind of make stuff happen.
That's
Yeah.
awesome advice. Awesome advice. Lucy, thank you so much for giving us your time today. That's been such an awesome conversation. You know, talking about different areas of the industry that you may or may not have heard of before. And yeah, what a great addition to our Meet the Music series that we've got. So hope you enjoyed that, everybody. I'm sure you have enjoyed it. And thank you very much, Lucy, for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
See you later.